Hey, it says the meeting is now streaming live on Facebook. Up on my screen. It didn't say that before.
Okay. This is good. This is good. Okay, I see us popping up. Fingers crossed. I just can't, the only downfall of doing it this way is I can't see the comments as clearly when people are on. But if it works, I don't care. Like, I see 2 people are on. So, okay. So again, please let us know you're here so we know this is working. This is like fun. So, oh, man, you were the brave soul that put your hand up for number 1. Here we
I'm
are.
up for the adventure, man.
Oh, thank you for the people that keep jumping back on. I was just saying the only downfall of doing this the way that I have now, which hopefully it stays on for the whole time, is that I can't see people's comments. So I can see that there's people on, but I can't see their comments. So if you're writing comments, just be patient with me. I'm going to try and figure out ways.
Well, and now you're frozen. Oh, there you go.
Just to, help people and great. Your internet connection is unstable. Oh, fun. That's nice. It's so funny. I was just talking about this. Let me see. If I try and switch, I feel like I'm going to lose it completely.
No, you're fine now.
Okay. We'll see how we go. Yeah. Thank you for your patience. I really appreciate it. And for everyone that keeps jumping on. So, okay. So we'll get started here. And I'm going to just introduce you again. So then that way I can delete all the other videos and just we can be good with it. Is that okay?
Sounds good.
All right. So as I said before, for those of you, I'm sorry, watching this every single one, but I am so incredibly thankful to have Anne-Marie on this call, because we are talking about something today that is very near and dear to my heart. And I said before that there's a possibility that I might get emotional, because this is something that I haven't really spoken about much in my life, but it has played a very significant role in my life. I had a loved one very, very close to my heart that was heavily involved in a relationship with domestic violence. And so you can't have that experience without this impacting you. And I say that with a lot of gratitude for what's happened as well. Having said that, I said before that I think it's so amazing that Anne-Marie came into my life, because it was very magical how we met. I still don't really know. It just kind of happened. We just met online through social media, and I just knew that we were going to get on really well. And I had no idea why. I didn't know anything about her. And then we got on a phone call, and I remember she started to share some of her story with me, and I was like, oh, I see. Okay, now I understand why. We're like soul sisters. Hearing what she's passionate about, and there's no way that we won't be doing stuff together. Like, we just have to. We were appointed to each other to create some magic. So I'm so thankful, because this topic is something that Anne-Marie has experienced to an extent that no one should experience. And through that experience, she has made the decision to really share the message, share her messages around domestic violence, and help people who've either experienced trauma because of it or are currently experiencing trauma because of it. So I cannot thank you enough, Anne-Marie. I'm so, so grateful you're here, and that this is the first interview. It's very exciting. So thanks for being patient through the technology difficulties, but we're there. I think this is going to work now. So yeah, I'm proud of it. And like I said, to the people that are watching, if you have questions for Anne-Marie, please put them in the comments. If you feel like you need to share this with someone, please do. Knowing it's a sensitive topic, if you need a certain way to reach out to someone about that, please reach out to us, and perhaps, you know, Anne-Marie or myself can give you some guidance around how to do that. But share this on your timeline, because I do believe this is a message that everyone needs to hear. You never know when someone is actually going through something like this. I had no idea with my loved one until things kind of, you know, hit the fan. Hang on, I'm sorry. My computer's trying to like update. I'm like, no, not right now. You're not updating right now. So yeah, please do share it. Please tag anyone, whatever you need to do. But I'd like to get started. So Anne-Marie, like I said before, if I know you started sharing before, but if you don't mind sharing a bit about your story. I know you have a lot of it on YouTube, which you're going to share, that goes in deep to your story. But if you wouldn't mind sharing a bit of an overview of your story and why this is, you know, such a passion of yours.
Yes, that is why we are here. For me to be able to share. Anytime that I get a chance to speak about something that I'm very passionate about regarding domestic violence awareness, I am like, yes, please and thank you. It's not something that anybody should ever have to go through, ever, male or female. And I started to say that in the video before. It's not gender specific, right? It doesn't care if you're male or female. It is a beast, and it needs to be eradicated. My story starts when I was 15 years old. My parents had divorced, and my mother was seeing this guy, and his name was Roger. And he didn't like us kids. I think it was more of the relationship that if, like, she was only his. And anybody who's going through it or has gone through it will understand what that means. It means he will not share, even with her children. Okay. He was not a nice guy. I'm talking chasing my sister down a hallway with a shotgun, not nice guy. I'm talking spraying my mother in the face with gasoline, not nice guy. Okay. The Christmas that I turned 16, I grew up Catholic, 12 years of Catholic schooling. My parents were divorced. My mom was in an apartment and seeing this guy, and Roger was supposed to be out of town. So we wouldn't have to see him. It was safe. We could maybe spend Christmas with my mom that year. It was going to be great. I needed a rosary for theology class the following day, and she had this beautiful black one that I wanted to use for that class. So I asked her if I could come get it. It was about 9:30 at night. And she said, yeah. So me and a friend of mine drove down there. She stayed in the car. I said, I'm just going to run up super quick. I'm just going to run up. And I knocked on the door, and Roger opened the door. And my immediate thought is, not supposed to be here. He is not supposed to be here right now. I don't know why he's here, but he's not. He's supposed to be out of town right now. I don't know what's going on. And he gave me that leering once over, that up and down look that just makes your skin just crawl. And he said, hey, my mother's name was Maria. Hey, Maria, your daughter's here. The pretty one. Looks me up and down again. He opens the door just a little bit wider. And I just kind of walked in, and he sat down at the table, and I can tell you the exact layout of my mother's apartment, but he sat down, and there were beer bottles all over the landing of the galley kitchen, and he was playing solitaire. He was shuffling cards. And I was still waiting for my mom to come out of the bedroom and getting more nervous by the minute. And he kind of looked over at me and he said, hey, baby, you know how to play cards? I'll teach you how to play cards. Come over and sit on my lap. And well, I did not do that, needless to say. And my mother came out of the bedroom, and she was wearing just like a men's long sleeve button down, like office shirt, like a work shirt. And she was 5 foot nothing. I'm 5'8". So anytime I would hug her, and she weighed nothing. Anytime I would hug her, I could rest my chin on her head, like a child. So I went over and I hugged her, and I just kind of whispered to her, "Are you okay? Is everything okay? Are you okay? Why is he here?" And she just looked at me and she just said, "Everything's okay." I'm half Filipino. My mother was Filipino, and so in her broken English, "It's okay. Everything's okay. Go home." And I didn't want to leave, but I was 16 years old, and you don't know what you can do. You don't know if there's really truly anything. You feel something's wrong, but you don't know if there's anything that you can actually do about it. And we were scared of that dude. Again, chasing my sister down the hallway with a shotgun. It's a little terrifying. So I left, and I just didn't have a great feeling in my gut at all. And I just couldn't sleep. Once I got home, I could not sleep. So I just laid in my bed, and about 3:00 in the morning, I was wide awake, and I hear this little soft knock on the door. It was my dad. And I was like, "Yeah, come on in." And he opened the door, and he didn't say a word. And I just said, didn't even look at him. And I just said, "She's dead, isn't she?" And he just said, "Yeah." And in an instant, my entire world changed. Changed. I was the last one to see her alive aside from him. He ran and hid in the bathtub of his ex-girlfriend's house, and claimed that he was there all night. And after I left, he was so upset that I was even there to begin with, and he raped and beat my mother to come to find out in recent years, like in the last 10 years, I didn't even know this, within an inch of her life, and she died alone with no one to help her.
Oh my God.
At 16 years old, to lose your parent in such a violent manner, it is life-changing. On top of which, months later, when we're in the middle of the trial, to be on the witness stand, because there was no way that I was not going up there. There was no way that any adult was going to keep me from doing it. To, those little black and white TVs like you have in the classroom, what I'm talking about, or the little black ones they'd pull out in the classroom, and you'd watch, whatever historical documentaries or whatever during school. Well, they wheeled one out into the middle of the courtroom, and imagine if you were a parent out there, imagine your teenage daughter, your 16-year-old daughter being up on a stand in a courtroom. It was very public trial. It was a very public trial. And having to watch that black and white screen playback of the footage of the policeman going through the apartment, and watching your mother's broken and bruised body on the floor, and trying to sitting on that stand and compose yourself enough to make sure that man never sees the light of day.
Yeah.
So that's part of my story. I'm gonna reel that back in just a little bit. My testimony helped put him away. It was the first case in Des Moines of a murder one conviction he got life without the possibility of parole. So that's only part of my story in regards to domestic violence. It's just part of it. And I won't go into the rest of it, but that's the foundation. That's why I am so passionate. There's other reasons too. If you want to know more about that and more details about that, we'll post the link to the YouTube vid so you guys can watch that. So I know that we're trying to keep this under 25, 30 minutes, and there's so much more, but that's the, I can't snap. My dog is over here. So if I snap my finger, she's going to get up and come over here. But that's it. That was the single defining moment that just changed everything.
My gosh. I mean, I don't even, there's no words. There are no words that you can say to anyone experiencing anything like that. My stomach turns. I am like, I feel so sad that that's something that you had to experience and that anyone has to experience. And the fact that your story is one of so many is so heartbreaking. And the fact that that's just the beginning of your experience with domestic violence. Like you said to me, you went into abusive relationships yourself, and abusive marriage. Like, that cycle is so vicious and so it really makes my whole body chill. So I really do appreciate you sharing that, because I know it's not easy. And I mean, I can feel like your heart through all of this, and it really does mean a lot to me. And you know that you're doing this for the better of the world, because it's so easy to keep those stories and those experiences inside. And you're using those experiences, and I know your mom and your mother, she would be so proud of you and would, you know, just see that this is changing so many lives. So I thank you and honor you so much for doing that. And I know there's a lot of comments coming in, so we'll read those in a minute, but thank you. I would love to know, because you have experienced such an array of domestic violence through your lifetime, I'd love to know about breaking that cycle and what it took for you to break the cycle, because I do believe that's one of the hardest things. And like I said, I witnessed it myself. And I'm so thankful that you've come out on the other side as such a strong human. So I'd love if you could share that, you know, your advice. How did you break out of the cycle?
I think when you go through the different experiences that I had around domestic violence, or through domestic, not around it, through it, went through it. There's varying stages, and it all depends on the age. You know, like 16, I lost my mother to it. 19, I was abused by somebody who I thought I should be safe with in law enforcement. And then I went on to marry somebody who was mentally and emotionally abusive. And that lasted for 12 years. So coming out on the other side of that marriage ended in 2010, and we had separated twice. I had really tried, and we had 2 young kids. And one of my biggest pieces of advice to anybody who is in that situation that is struggling with, you know, I'm going to try to keep that family together for the kids. We're going to do it for the kids' sake. Do not ever stay together because you think you are helping your children. You are doing the exact opposite of that on so many levels. So many levels. And you may be in a situation where you're like, but I don't have anybody. He's all I have. You're wrong. As of right now, you have someone.
Right.
As of right now. If you need to private message me, you have someone in your corner. So I think it's so important to understand, especially when you have small kids, that not only are children resilient, but they watch and they are sponges and they see what happens in that relationship and what is the example that you are setting for your children. You're teaching your son how to treat a woman from the male perspective. You're teaching your daughter how she's going to be loved. And that's not okay. That's not how it should be. That's not how it can be. It's important to surround yourself with the people that you are closest to. And if you are in a place of complete isolation where your spouse or your significant other it's happening right now, all over as we are speaking. If they are in a situation where it's complete isolation and they have caused you to shut off everything from your outside world, but you're here watching this right now, you have someone. We might not be close, but I will help you in any way that I can. I will point you in the right direction and I will hold your hand through it all. I think it's important, if you do have that support system, to make sure that the people that you are confiding in are breathing the right life into you and not sucking the life out of you. If you are in that situation, it is hard enough to go through it and to have your family members shame you for it and blame you. Well, what did you do? Why didn't you get out? How come you're in that situation? You can get out at any time. It's not as easy as you think, guys. I'll put that right out there. It is not easy. And until you have walked it, always come at it with the perspective of, how can I help you right now? What do you need from me? Do not ask how they got themselves in that situation. Do not ask why they haven't gotten out yet. You look at them and you say, how can I help you right now? And you sit and you listen and you wait, because they are scared. They are scared. Am I freezing? My internet connection says it's unstable. Am I okay?
You're okay.
I feel like
it's the same.
Okay.
So we're good.
So that's super, super important. If you're in that, and if you're in that support, if you're the support system, that's what I'm speaking of. If you're in that support system, it's super, super important that you are open to whatever you're going to receive from the person who was in that domestic violence situation right now. Do not take over for them. Hold their hand through it. Be there for them. If they need you to contact somebody, law enforcement or whatever, be that safe space for them. But the more that you hold on to them, then that just makes them attached to you and less independent and able to work through it on their own. And that's the only way you're going to get through. Therapy, once you're out of that situation, therapy. I cannot stress that enough. You cannot always do it with the support system of your friends and your family. You need the objective outside help to put you back together. It has taken me a decade to finally be on the other side of it. It just happened in the last 5 years when I finally am in a place where I'm whole and me and strong enough to be really helpful in this arena. You think in the first 5 years, maybe in the first year, I got this. I'm out, I'm doing my thing. In the first year, I'm independent. I got it. I got away from that jerk, whatever. You're wrong. You're wrong. It's going to ebb and it's going to flow and it's going to hit you in moments that you are not expecting. Do the work. Trust me, stay vigilant in your discipline and do the work. So there's that.
When
I don't know if that's helpful.
When you say do the work, you say you're talking about therapy. I mean, I can make assumptions as to what else you mean, but do you want to explain that a little bit more? Just
when I say do the work, it's all of it. It's all encompassing. I mean, start with therapy.
Yep.
And when you think you're done and you've gotten through the therapy, keep going. Because there's going to be moments that hit you when you're not expecting it. And you'd be like, well, I went through therapy. I did all that. Keep going. Even if it's, you start out and you're going like once, maybe twice a week, maybe every day for a month, whatever gets you through. And then you start to gradually drop that off. And you're like, once every 2 weeks, once a month. If you're at that point where you're once a month, keep it. Keep going. Yeah. It's only going to help you be stronger. Self-help books can be beneficial, but you need to be careful about that too, because oftentimes they're laced with less than factual information, and it's more about the perspective of them. So just make sure that you're paying attention to the voice that's coming through in those books. Support groups are super helpful. Mm-hmm. Anytime that you guys can get into even a Facebook support group of that. Just be careful when you're in those groups that you're not sharing too much of your personal information for somebody to be able to take advantage of that, because that can happen too. Mm-hmm. And then you can find yourself back in that situation unbeknownst to you. So that's what I talk about when I say do the work. Focus on yourself. Don't date. Once you're out of that, take your time. Really get to know yourself. Date yourself. Take yourself out on dates. Eat alone. Read. Find a new hobby. Discover things that you love that you have forgotten. Rediscover things that you love that you've been missing when you were in that relationship. You're going to come out not the same person. You're going to come out on the other side better for it. So that's what I mean by doing the work. I hope that answers the question.
Yeah, no, that's so incredibly helpful. Yeah, I feel like there was so much gold in there. I was taking notes. That's why if I'm looking down, that's what I'm doing. And I'm taking notes. But I think I just want to point out some of the things that you said that I think are so, so critical and important for people to know, for both the people that are in domestic violence relationships, or if they're out of a domestic violent relationship, and for support people to those that are in domestic violent relationships. I think so critical that you were saying that don't stay together for the kids. If you're in a relationship, and you have kids with this person, that is not a reason to stay. It's a reason even more so to get out, like you said, because what are you modeling to those beautiful children that you have? It's hard. I've seen a couple of people close to me go through this when they have kids, and it's taken many, many years because they thought they should stay for the kids. And lo and behold, like I've seen when they've come out the other side, and you see the kids, the light, it just changes the kids in such an amazing way once they're separated. So really don't stay for the kids. I agree with you so much there. And then you said about people that are in isolation, in general, because that's so common with domestic violence, that that they isolate you from those that you love. And right now is such a scary time for those people, because you're already isolated. You're being forced to be isolated on top of already being isolated in your relationship. So exactly like Anne-Marie said, if you're in this position, please don't hesitate to reach out to us, and then we will do anything in our power to help you and to get you the resources and to support you through this situation. So I think that's really important, and because I can't imagine being in that position. And as a support person, this has been really helpful for me, because I know in the past there's been times where it's like, I don't know what to say. I don't know what's the right thing to do, because I saw some of I saw some people that were like, oh, they got frustrated and actually like pushed that person away and was like, well, I don't want to be around him. You're with him and you keep going back to him, so I don't want to be around him, and would push. And I saw that push their relationship apart, and not the relationship of the couple that needed to separate. It was the relationship between the loved ones. So I think it's so important, like you said, just asking, how can I help, right? How can I help you right now? And don't take over, don't try and do it for them. And that's something I'm sure I tried to do to some extent, because you don't know what else to do. You want to just be like, I know this is what needs to happen, and you want to just do it for them, but you can't. And I think that's really critical, is just being the support, and listening. Like you said, listen, give them that space to figure out what they need, because they know what they need, but they need to say it themselves. So thank you for that. That's really helpful. And then I can't stress enough everything you said about after you've come out of the relationship, doing the work. Like, I loved all of that, the therapy, and keep going to therapy. Like you said, self-help books, support groups, date yourself. That's so important. And I think that's, even if you come out of a relationship, it doesn't have to be a domestic violence relationship, but often we don't give ourselves that time to figure out who we are and what we need, and date ourselves and find those hobbies, because I think that's so critical in any relationship. So that, I just wanted to recap all those things for those of you that are watching. Again, I would take notes and share this information, because this is stuff I wish I heard like when I was 16. I honestly wish that I heard this when I was 16 years old, because I think I would have been so much more helpful for those loved ones that have been in relationships, in domestic violence relationships. So thank you. And so I think you hit a lot of my questions, to be honest. I think the only other thing that we're at like the 25-minute mark, so I'm conscious of people's time, but I'd love if you could share, you said about trauma through different ages, and maybe more around, like, because sometimes we have people in our lives that are going through these relationships and we have no idea. Maybe it's about identifying, like, when someone is in a domestic violence relationship, what that shows up like and how it looks. Would you mind talking to that?
Sure. As quickly and succinctly as I can, which I am verbose and tangential. So the odds of that happening are not good, guys.
Information, it's okay.
I will tell you, and this goes something that I wanted to go back to as well, from a child standpoint. So for me as a teenager, also, if you have gotten out of a domestic violence relationship and you have kids, how to help them through it, because they'll need therapy too. You have to take care of yourself first. It's like, somebody that I love very much uses the analogy of, if you're in an airplane, and the oxygen mask comes down, is that you have to put it on yourself before you can help somebody else, right? So you have to take care of yourself before you can take care of anybody else. And I think that's true in just life in general, but especially in situations like this, you also have to be aware of your children. And if they shut down, it doesn't matter if they shut down, they need therapy regardless. They're going to need the help. Something that had saved me when I was younger was going to a support group, which is something that I would like to. It was a retreat, and I want to create that. Something similar. I want to create a retreat for young adults who have lost a parent through death, divorce, or abandonment. That's my big picture goal. And it's going to happen.
Yep.
It's going to happen. So it's something that saved me as a teenager, because when you're at that age, it's such a pivotal point in your life, teenagers in general. But something traumatic like that happens, you can go in one of two directions. You can go down the path of least resistance, booze, drugs, sex, anything to numb it, or you can find the help and the support and go in a different direction. And I was so blessed to have gotten the support to go in the other direction, and that I didn't go down that other road, because it would have been so easy. It would have been so easy. It's the harder path, but it's the better path. There's so much work on the other side. If you go down that path, there's so much more that you would have to come out of. So I think it's important that you, depending on the ages of your children that are with you, the type of therapy, and keep them in therapy. keep checkpointing that therapy, keep checkpointing them. And don't let them push you away, as in, don't let them shut themselves in their room for hours on end, because that's not healthy. You're going to be the bad guy, right? You're going to be the bad guy. Be the bad guy.
Yeah.
You'll bridge it. You'll get over it. You'll move through it. Just in that moment, there's that. Those are something else too. When you're a little bit older, after coming out of my divorce, when it's crippling, because you come out of that relationship, you come out of any domestic abuse relationship, and it's you, and you're like, it's crippling. And I remember being in the parking lot of a Walmart once and just frozen. I couldn't move because I was just so overwhelmed with everything that was about to happen. Like I was just frozen. In those moments, I have these mantras that I say to myself, and it's, I take deep breaths. Practice this. Breathing is so important, so important. So deep in, exhale out slow. And I would do it like 3 or 4 times. And then I would just say to myself, in this moment, all you have to do is breathe. So then I would breathe. In this moment, all you have to do is turn the key in the ignition. In this moment. And it's so important to remember, in this moment, because that's all we have.
Yeah.
And then the next moment, and then the next moment. So if you use that mantra of in this moment, just know that this moment is for right now. It is not forever.
Yeah.
And you'll get through it. And we'll do it together. Because that's my motto. You'll get through it and we'll do it together. So those are like different. I was 16, so I wasn't really super, super young. But there are, even if your kids are super, super young, like my children were young when that all happened. When that blew up. I won't go to that. We're out of time. I've already sailed past that 30 mark. Shocking. Anybody who knows me, shocking. It'll be shocking to you. No, it won't be. But if you have young kids, there's therapy at every age. There's therapy at every age. So I don't know if that helped.
Yeah, no, it did. And I think no, but I think that there were some really key things in there that you said, you know, and like you were talking about retreats and opportunities for whether it's children or adults. And I know that Brooke Mackey Jones, actually, I think she was watching this. She's someone I've been wanting to connect you with for a while, because I know she has very similar vision to you. Actually, I'm interviewing her as well at some point. And, you know, I know some people that really have that same vision to create a space like that, to really empower, especially like I think kids, but I think anyone that's been through or is going through a situation like this is so important, because then they realize they're not alone in this journey, especially as kids, because we all think like what we're going through, we're the only person that's ever experienced anything like it, because we don't know any different, right? So I think for kids, it's really powerful. And like you said, to help put them on that right path. Yes, it's often the more challenging path to take in the short term, but it's so worth it in the long run. And like you said, to in the early stages, I think, to help work through and stop that cycle. I thought that was really important. And the other thing was, you know, the breathing is so important. And we take it for granted, you know, we do it all the time, but taking a deep, you know, whether you're in a situation like this, or even if it's just, you know, when any stress arises, like you said, I think that's so powerful in this moment, you know, whatever it is that what we said, in this moment?
Yeah, in this moment.
And it is, because all we can do is something in this moment. We can't control the future or the past. All we can do is focus on right now. So I think that's very powerful. And yeah, I do appreciate you for sharing that. So thank you. I wanted to ask if you can, I know if you can maybe just share real quick your vision.
Well, I'm losing you.
No, you said you've got
Okay, I can wait.
retreat, your vision is that. But if there's people that, you know, you have so, oh, are you back?
Nope. You're like blah, frozen.
You got me?
Hold on. Can kind of hear you, but you're breaking up a little
Oh,
bit.
there you go. I think we're back.
I can hear you.
Oh,
Technology has not been our friend today, guys.
I don't even know what happened there. Can you still see us live on Facebook? And Anne-Marie, I'm not sure if you're, oh, you're there. It says we're still live, so I don't know what happened.
Live. Hi guys. All I have like on my Facebook screen is just me. oh, hold on. There you are.
Oh, there we go. See, I couldn't see you. We're so close. We're nearly there. So just to wrap it up, if you can, yeah, just share. All I was asking was your vision, because you have such a powerful story, and I know you've mentioned the retreats.
Yeah.
Oh, you're losing me again? No.
You're going in and out. You want me to talk about the retreat?
I need to try and. Yeah, the retreat, and also like if people wanted to work with you or want to know more, yeah, would you mind just talking to that?
Yes, I think I caught the gist of it. I think I caught most of what you were asking. Yes, what I would like to do as far as the retreat goes, it's going to be surrounded by young adults. I would also like to have women's retreats as well, but my passion is helping kids who are going through it at the same age that I went through it, because I think it's important for them to have a safe space surrounded by like-minded people who have experienced similar situations. They aren't always, if you sit down and you try to do, group therapy or like therapy with your parent in the room, like kids are so reserved and they're so closed off that they're going to tell you what you want to hear. I want to be able to create a safe enough space for young adults to dig into the truth and dig into their honesty and their vulnerability. And it has to be a safe space for them. Because I think that's so lacking right now, is for them to be safe, to feel safe enough to be vulnerable, to work through it, and to be honest with themselves and with others. And by sharing that in a group setting with other kids that have gone through it or are currently going through it, it only strengthens each other you will make friends for life. I tell you right now, and I don't know if my bestie's watching this right now, but we've created a podcast. We've been friends for over 30 years. We met October of 1990. It'll be 30 years this October, but that's how we met, was through that retreat. And we have been best friends because of it. So that's something that I'm very, 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 very passionate about, that I would like to do. I would love to be able to help anybody who needs the help, the coaching, in the self-help, working through self-love and how to do that. I'm happy to help you do that. Please reach out to me. I'd love to collaborate with anybody. I'd love to interview anybody who has gone through this, or we can talk about this more on my podcast. I'd love to pull anybody in who's interested in being interviewed in a similar format for that. The more that we can share, the more awareness that we can create, the quicker we can find a way to eradicate it, to stop it, to end the violence, to be stronger as individuals, right? So that as a whole, we are a healthier, happier society. And part of that is bringing awareness to it, bringing awareness. can't talk about it enough. Okay, I don't know if that helps. If that's what you were talking about, or if that's what you wanted.
That was exactly what I was saying. So, and I know that speaking gigs and
yes,
speakings in your future as well. So
yeah. So if anybody needs or is looking for somebody to speak at an event that you might be hosting or anything, I'm please let me know.
Absolutely. So yeah, please, that was, I really wanted people to know that they can reach out to you. We are going to put links in this post now that we know this is the video that worked. There will be links to everything for Anne-Marie, how to stay connected with her, how to watch, so for a podcast, whatever it might be. And also the other thing I did say to Anne-Marie that we will put in there is professional help links for anyone who is in a domestic violence situation themselves, or a loved one is and they need support, because I know I had no idea where to look when I was going through as a 16-year-old and beyond. I had no idea who to call, what to do. So we'll put those links in this video, but and for everyone that's watching, if you can love and like this post, please share it. Please also tell us what you found most powerful from what you heard today. That would be really beneficial. I see Lauren said, I love in this moment. It is simple and so powerful, and I couldn't agree more. So I'd love if people could say, just drop in the comments what you found helpful. Thank Anne-Marie. I'm so thankful, Anne-Marie, that you came on and shared your heart, your soul, your message. I know that you are going to change or you are already changing so many lives. And yes, I'm with you, sister. Let's change this. Let's do whatever we can to transform domestic violence, cycle in the world right now, because it's crazy and it shouldn't exist. So I cannot thank you enough. But I think that kind of wraps us up. Like I said, if you have questions that if you're watching the replay as well, just drop in replay and just drop any questions you have, and we'll get to that. Anne-Marie, I'm sure, will happily respond. But please don't hesitate to talk to either of us. If you need someone to talk to, we are both here for you, without a question of a doubt. So anything else you'd like to say, Anne-Marie, to wrap it up?
I'm grateful to you for doing this. It's my first interview ever. It's very special. I'm glad it was you.
Oh, me too. I'm very honored, and you did amazing. That was perfect. Well, thank you again, and we will talk soon. So much magic to work on. All right.
Thank you guys. Thank you guys for tuning in. Appreciate it.
Yes, thank you for tuning in. Take care.